Some stories don't just inspire, they rewire how we think. Welcome back to Empowering Paths by Mashrik, a podcast where we step behind the scenes to uncover the grit, breakthroughs, and turning points that shape extraordinary journeys. In this episode, we explore the power of technology with intention, how AI, when guided by purpose, can become a force for good, not just as a tool, but a way to bring our ideas, values, and imagination to life. Joining us today is someone who spent decades building technology at the highest level, and then shifted his entire path to ask a deeper question: what makes life truly meaningful? He's the former Chief Business Officer of Google X, best-selling author of Solve for Happy, and a global voice on ethics of AI, a global voice urging us to raise AI with empathy, ethics, and human values. Please welcome Gawdat.
Yes, good to see you, my friend.
It's always so interesting when you speak to somebody who's at the top of their game and has so much information that leaves you walking out there thinking, I need to learn so much more. It's strange how certain things happen to change people's views on life and how they choose to live their life. So your life changed drastically from being in one field to actually looking at life in a completely different field. I just want to take it back to the beginning of the journey of the moment that kind of challenged you to kind of have a different view on life. And I know there's very specific moments.
I lived two full lives, I would probably say, and with very clear dividing moments, if you want. I started like I was told. All of us in the Middle East, you have to be a doctor or an engineer. So I chose engineering. I was a very serious computer geek, and so I had a career that's exactly like that. Married my college sweetheart, had kids immediately after we got married, and went through life as basically as a very technology-oriented executive until I became Chief Business Officer of Google X, which I would probably say is up there among the top positions you can achieve in technology. Along with that life, I didn't have any fulfillment in life, if you want. It's quite interesting because you think that you'll be fulfilled in your in the job that you do, but that's not always the case. And early on in my life, I had that interaction with my wonderful daughter, where my seriousness, if you want, broke her heart, and it was a wake-up call for me that I needed to change. I needed to become more loving, more open, more calm, more appreciative and grateful of the life that I've been given. And that took me years and years of work that unfortunately were, of course I advanced very quickly, but unfortunately my learnings were put to the test when I lost Ali, my wonderful son. And you can see how both my kids have affected my life very deeply. But Ali, in that sense, was, his loss was preventable, unpredictable. It was medical malpractice, basically.
Because it was a routine.
It was a very
surgery,
routine operation, an appendix inflammation, which is 4 to 5 minutes, really. And it, most of us, hopefully, would never have to go through this pain, but sometimes life really shakes you, to your roots because you have to change direction. And I wouldn't have changed direction, whatever. Like if you had taken away all the money I've made, or if you've taken away everything I owned, it wouldn't have affected me like losing Ali. And Ali, as he left, he made me realize that perhaps there are other things I should do in life. And so, as weird as it sounds, 17 days after his departure, I was writing about happiness. That was Solve for Happy.
Yeah.
I'm now on my 5th bestseller. I wrote 3 books on happiness and well-being and 2 books on artificial intelligence. And it's a very different life. It's a completely, in everything, not just in the impact, which I have to say is, I feel much higher, but also in the process.
Funny thing is, you're still a numbers guy, but the why of your numbers has changed.
I'm very so right? You don't want to be in here.
Yeah.
It's a very strange place in my head because I actually am more comfortable with numbers and algorithms than I am with people and words. Even though, of course, as you can see, my current place in life gets me to interact with tens of thousands of people every week. But I am much more, if you leave me alone, I will take a paper and pen and write algorithms for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see the world. But interestingly, that's not a drawback, because I have to admit that in the modern world, softer topics, even future topics like artificial intelligence, have not completely been explained in ways that are methodic and process-oriented. And I think people value a mix of both. You know, the old way of teaching sort of calm and happiness and spirituality, which requires you to be in a group learning, setup and so on, talk about the softer elements of everything. A lot of people today, because of the work world, because of the pace, because of the technology, will not relate to that enough anymore. And I find that there is value to talk about something like happiness using an equation. And I found in Solve for Happy,
the happiness equation,
that a lot of people resonated with that. So I started with teaching happiness, and then I started on working on the reasons for unhappiness, right? And one of the biggest reasons, likely reasons for future unhappiness for humanity is artificial intelligence, which does not necessarily have to be the case. So intelligence has no polarity. Intelligence is a force with no polarity, right? You can deploy it for good and you're gonna achieve miracles, and you can deploy it for evil and you can destroy the world, right? And so there is nothing inherently good or bad about artificial intelligence. It's how we're going to use it. When I left Google, however, 2018, I left with the objective of being allowed to speak openly, not about the threats of AI, but the threats of what humanity might be doing, using AI for, okay? And it is within our hands to actually make AI create the ultimate utopia for humanity. But also, unfortunately, through the morality of the current systems of humanity, AI might be a risk. Might be a very
So how
big
do we
risk.
control that? Because on one side you say AI can be the biggest opportunity for humanity and the biggest risk.
Yeah.
So where is that middle ground?
The difference is the
between-
morality of the humans that will use it. Okay.
And are we on the right path with that now?
We're
or-
not at all. So the truth is, you know, if you've used enough, and I am very, very deep into AI. I have an AI startup. I use the tools. I'm in the circles. I'm behind the firewalls, you know, connected to the labs. There are multiple uses for AI. There are people that are using it to ask about, what was that movie in 1984, right? Very silly, right? Great, if that's what you want. There are people that are using it for mega breakthroughs in science. You know, we now understand the protein structure of 220 million proteins. Before AI, we knew like 4,500 or something like that, right? From a biology science advancement point of view, this is remarkable. Proteins are the structure, the machines of life, basically. And there are, unfortunately, some that are using it for evil, okay?
But how do we police that?
You cannot police that. I think, again, we need to focus on our little world, right? There is no way you can actually go everywhere in the world and say, nobody use AI for bad, okay? But you can do three things. One is never invest in an AI you don't want your daughter to be at the receiving end of. Never give, never promote or even utilize. Like, don't use an AI that you know is doing bad for others, right? Be genuinely ethical as you use AI yourself, right? By you know, if you create a fake video, mark it as fake. So, you know, my current book, which I release, you know, a 5-page post every week, will always have a cover image that is created by AI. And I mark it clearly that the image is created by AI. That's honestly, that's ethical, right? And then the third is demand that AI is used for good, right?
And what are these goods? Like, what are the things that you would say now, if you had to choose the 5 If you had 5 things to use AI for, what would they
I
be?
think AI should be used to enhance human connectivity and connection, true connection. It should be used to unravel and unveil the truth rather than opinions, right? So, I used to work on a project that I used to call Pinocchio, which is an AI that simply looks at news coverage, for example, and tries to explain that, there is a difference between fact and opinion. There is a difference between fact and bias. There is a difference between unsubstantiated fact and actually something that you have an evidence for, and so on and so forth, right? That's a great example on unraveling the truth, which unfortunately is the opposite of what AI is being used for today, right? You can use AI for longevity. You can use AI to create wealth for everyone rather than wealth for some and not for the others. You can use AI to research topics that humanity has never known before. You can use AI to cure every disease. I tell people, and I actually stand by that there, I tell people openly that the way AI is today, we're in an era that in my writings I call is the era of augmented intelligence. So I take my IQ and I put IQ on top of it that's borrowed from AI. My feeling is now I borrow around 40 to 80 IQ points from an AI today. Now, anyone who understands IQ,
that's a lot.
That is significant. It's even bigger than my entire IQ because IQ is exponential. If I can use that to do things like do deep analysis in my work now, in my books, my current books, that's amazing. I'm telling people that if you give me 400 IQ points more, which I believe will be 2027, I can solve every problem that's known to humanity. And I here is not me. Any of the engineers I've ever worked with 400 IQ points more, we can solve energy, we can solve climate change. But whatever it is that you learn in this new world, I will tell you openly that what matters the most, it's the idea that those machines, believe it or not, are not programmed by the developers. They are taught by the users, right? What forms the intelligence of an AI is the data set that creates its intelligence. The code that we write only informs how the neural network inside its brain works, right? But then, like every human, if a human has intelligence and then you start to expose them to knowledge, that's when they become more and more intelligent, and that's when they set their value set and ethics, right? And I think the reality of the matter is that AI today needs for humanity to show up in a more ethical way, right? And it's not up to the government to regulate. Yes, they have a role to play. It's not up to the developers to build different codes. Yes, they have a part of that. It's up to you and I and how we deal with each other and how we deal with our AIs. No nation needs to be more powerful than another nation. No company needs to be more efficient than another company. We literally are on the cusp of a world where anything you could wish for can be made by a robot for a fraction of the cost. And we have to change the mindset of humanity so that we are able to make that our new ethos.
That's incredible. Now joining us is a young voice shaping the future with creativity and conscience. Recognized as the UAE's youngest inventor, she has used AI to tell stories of culture, create art, and spark conversation on ethics in the digital age. From early struggles in STEM to inspiring the next generation of changemakers, please welcome Fatima Al Kaabi, an innovator turning technology into a tool for purpose. Thank you for joining us. This must be pretty cool because right now, that's like me sitting and having Joe Rogan on my side. You have Gawdat on the other side of you, right?
Exactly. I'm actually a really big fan. I mean, Fatima is amazing in so many ways. Yeah.
So interesting. And just the story, let's take it back. Tell me about your first invention. And the thing that fascinates me about it as well, which kind of makes me realize of my wasted youth, you were 10 years old. When I was 10, I can literally tell you the exact tree that I was swinging from. It's still there now in the park. What makes a 10-year-old want to be an inventor?
So when I first started out, I had an interest in everything. I was learning a bunch of languages. I was into sports. I was doing everything. Till now, I have a passion to learn new things and try new hobbies all the time. And inventing happened to be something I stumbled on. So both of my parents are in tech. My dad's an engineer. My mom studied IT. So I grew up with tech in the house. And I ended up joining a course where summer camp. And one of the days I met an instructor who was teaching robotics. He gave us a workshop and I really enjoyed it. And after the workshop, he gave us a challenge for some of the outstanding students from the course to build a project to be premiered at a conference in Dubai back in 2010. So I was 10 years old. And I decided to combine two of my passions, my new passion, robotics and inventing, and photography. So I created a robot that had an instant camera on top. And basically all it did was measure the distance between it and the person at front of it, make sure you're in the frame, clicks on the shutter button, and gives you a Polaroid picture to take as memorabilia from the UAE. And ended up being a really cool project that attracted a lot of people to my booth, and I kind of liked the attention. Like, let me build more. And I think that made me realize, I built this project thinking it was something fun for me, but it's something that wasn't created before. How can I build more things to help myself? And eventually, as I grew up, I realized I want to help other people, and that inspired the rest of my inventions.
Wow, I can just imagine as a 10-year-old, after like getting all that attention, just looking at your hands and be like, I can build anything. Like, right now,
How long back was that?
I'm 23 now, so 13
That's
years
actually
ago.
really advanced for 13 years ago, robotics.
Thank you.
Very cool, right? It's quite funny because when you said that, my kids are 8 now and they have robotics in their school and they were like, we really want to go to robotics. And then I realized that, so they're not like you. The reason they wanted to do it was because you're allowed to bring your iPad into school. So they wanted to find any way to sneak an iPad back into their life because they're only allowed it on weekends. One thing that I saw of you, and it was interesting, you were talking about challenges that you faced. And I never thought about it until I heard you say it. It was in a TEDx talk. And you mentioned that in all the cartoons that you were watching, Dexter's Laboratory, all of these people, all of the scientists and technicians were guys, were boys or men. So how did that feel to you at that point where you were like, there is no one representing me here in that?
Exactly. When I first started, my role models were my parents. So I saw my mom and dad, and those were the people I looked up to. And it didn't feel any different. It was just my mom and my dad, the people I'm used to seeing all the time. But as I got into it and I started telling my classmates about it in class, I realized it wasn't cool being a nerd. And it wasn't cool being really into tech at a young age. And usually when you're interested in something, you want to lean on a role model to tell people like, this person did it, I want to do the same thing. And I was looking, but every person I pointed at did not look like me. And I had a hard time feeling like I belonged. And that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing today, trying to share my story and visit schools and universities and teach kids about this, because I don't want them to feel just because they're of a specific gender or a specific identity, they cannot be the thing that they want to be. And we're lucky enough here in the UAE to have the support to start in tech. And today I can name more than the fingers on my hand, number of inventors and scientists that are women that I could look up to, but even Emiratis that are leading the industry. So over time, I was able to build that with my own career and also meet a lot of people that maybe the media didn't focus on in the past.
Yeah, and especially in the country that we're in, our government and the royal family and everything are very big on pushing the idea that everybody can do anything, kind of thing. And when you have a picture with His Highness or something like that, or you're being given awards by these people, how does that feel to you when you're...
I mean, it's quite an honor and something that my family is very proud of. They put my picture in every room in the house.
I can imagine that. They're inviting people to dinner just so they could see the picture, right? It's oh yeah, by the way.
Even in my grandparents' house, in like the men's majlis, which is supposed to be the men's room, they have a huge blow-up picture of me with the sheikh because they're very proud. And it makes me really happy to see that we're not just pushing the boundaries in terms of what women and Emirati women can do, but also the government is setting up an example that even young people, youth, are able to change and they'll be recognized for the small things that they do. So it makes me really proud, and I always see it as a drive to give more and to inspire more.
So I remember you saying that curiosity was a superpower. How do you nurture that, but at the same time, like you said, don't want to look like a nerd. Well, I don't want everyone to think I'm the
What's
weird.
wrong with
I'm
nerds?
the weird
We
one.
love nerds.
You know what?
I love being a nerd.
I love nerds.
Absolutely.
Nerds love nerds, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's but the
There
outside.
are enough of us now.
Yeah,
so-
right. Yeah. But you know, actually, it is
Yeah.
becoming the cool thing now. Like you remember, like 80s, 90s was the jocks, and then they're going through the phase where now this is a time where it's cool. But how did you kind of navigate your way through that?
Okay, first it's because nerds are making the same amount of money as athletes now,
Yeah.
so that's something to be very proud of. Yeah, I say curiosity is a superpower because it doesn't cost you anything to be curious, and there's nothing wrong with being curious. I think I grew up listening that, you know, curiosity is what killed the cat, all the different sayings in Arabic and English, that it's wrong to be curious and it's wrong to ask too many questions about something. And I understand in some cases it is, but when it comes to learning, I think that's the drive that keeps you going and keeps you looking for the answer. So initially, when I first started, what led me to inventing or technology was curiosity. I was curious. I walked into that course that day at summer camp, and it determined the rest of my life. Same thing with every other thing. I always tell people it costs nothing to be curious. Today, I can ask ChatGPT or Google or whatever platform I'm using a question about whatever industry I want to get in, and it costs nothing and no one knows about it. So sometimes, you know, I think I want to be a chef, and then I look up what does it take to be a chef in 1 year or something like that, and I get the answer, and it gives me that satisfaction of seeing an industry maybe I'll never be in, or maybe a future thing that I want to pursue without having to ask experts or put myself out there. So I always tell people, be curious, costs nothing to look up something online.
And this is what we were talking about, used correctly, like AI and technology used correctly. When did you notice that? Because you do a lot of things and you're a big advocate of getting other people involved as well. When did you realize this is bigger than me? This is not just a journey that I want to do, but something that I want so many more people to get into?
So initially, when I started, I was building things for myself. You know, as a 10-year-old, I built a photographer and a cheerleader to cheer the national team. Random stuff that I was building just to show off to my family, like,
Just
oh,
because
this
Because
is
I can, yeah.
You can.
yeah, this is what I want. I want a robot friend to do things with me every day. But slowly, I noticed I started to become the token inventor of the family or in my friend group. So everyone would come up to me and say, like, can you build something that cleans my makeup brushes? Can you do this and that? And I'm like, okay, now I have this task to help people around me. But over time, I realized that could extend to people I don't know. And that's what makes it exciting. That maybe a project that I built today to help me could be affecting someone's life in ways I don't even understand. And it took me a while to realize that. But I think one of the days that it really hit me was I was presenting to a group of girls. And it was an event for girls who code. And we had attendees from all around the world. And I was talking about a project I built to help me attend school, because I was skipping a lot of school for like science fairs and things like that. And I got interrupted halfway through my presentation by a girl in Kenya who said, I want this to be able to go to school in the UAE while I'm back home. So things like that made me realize, like, oh, I was building it to help myself, but today I can help people in other parts of the world get the education they need. And the same could reflect to all my other projects.
Because you answered it for me, because I was going to say, what's your most challenging invention that you kind of had to do now? But it seems like that was one of them, right?
Yes, definitely. I mean, over time, you could see the inventions progress with the knowledge I've gained. So when I started, all I learned was from YouTube or the internet. But over time, I was building the skills that I needed before AI, having to learn from articles or videos and so on. So definitely the last project I worked on, the teleporter, which is
teleporter.
The teleporter, yeah. And it doesn't really teleport you to another
Ah,
place.
you got me excited there.
But the idea is that it's a robot that is in your school or university, and you could connect to it and navigate it around your campus to attend your classes and be part of the social aspect of being in school. But at the same time, the goal is to have it fully open source, made of recyclable materials. So any kid today can build it and donate it to a local school or university, or use it while they're seeking treatment, or they're in a different part of the world.
Oh, what are your views when you see the future and the young inventors?
She's
and
my
stuff in
idol.
AI?
Like, oh my God.
It's an honor.
That is so cool. And I
Thank
mean,
you.
honestly, it is. I think what Fatima says is really, really, really the core of what's happening. Because when I was an engineer, I was not allowed to use a scientific calculator in university, believe it or not.
Because you had to know.
So you had to know the mathematics in your head. And, the first time they allowed me to use a calculator was the third year. And my God, I was like, you're saving me 2 hours per exam or per project or whatever. What can I use those for? And you use them for curiosity. So much knowledge out there. There's so much you can learn. I am a deep search junkie. Like I research things that would have taken me 4 months of work.
Yeah.
Now you can do the first search in 5 minutes, but then what do you do with the rest of the 4 months? You do it again and again and go deeper and understand and analyze and pit AIs against each other and get them to debate each other. And it's just incredible for someone who loves to learn. This is heaven. And there you go. This is the example. You suddenly have those tools at your fingertips, and you can make your whole nation proud. That's what we need.
What question would you ask Mo if you could get the answer? So if you because it's so interesting, because I'm sure before this, I'd be like, if I saw Mo Gawdat, I'd probably ask him A, B, C, or D.
What language to code?
Right?
I mean, everyone will ask you that, but I think since you're mastering both AI and the EI, emotional intelligence, what is the what's the number one skill you would advise the next generation to equip themselves for with everything that's happening?
Why does it have to be one? Can it not be two?
Two or three, we'll be generous.
I honestly, truly believe that EQ is probably the highest form of intelligence going forward. The ability to connect as humans, the ability that I feel a connection to you, that goes beyond just an intellectual connection. I get inspired by you. Inspired is not, she's at this scale of intelligence. And then it is like, this is someone I can relate to, I can associate with, I can aspire to be like in certain ways. And I think if I'm allowed to say, your generation has been put in a setup through social media that does not enable us to do that very well. For me, when I wanted to see my friends, I had to walk to them. There was not even,
if they were there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. There was a landline phone, but you didn't.
We weren't allowed to answer that because our parents didn't want to speak to certain people. So you can't just pick it up. You don't know who's calling.
Exactly. Yeah. So imagine that difference. And I think when it comes to EQ, this is something we really need to go back to really have human skills, to really have conversations, debates, and and connections to other humans. But I have to admit, I mean, for a knowledge junkie like you and I, it is the golden era. It is the golden era. Like we I when I was young, people would ask me, what is, if you wanted a superpower, what would you dream of having? And believe it or not, I would say I want to be Rain Man. I wanted to read every book on earth and retain it in my head. Okay. And I know that sounds really weird. You said it. It's weird to be a nerd, right? But to us, this is incredible power. It makes a massive difference. This is what we need. I think you're the absolute example.
100%. One thing that I want to talk about as well is using creativity and culture in AI, which is something that you've already done with some of the pictures that you've brought back to life from the past and these things. How important do you think AI is to culture and creativity and these things? Because I know that it fixes things and it does all that, and it has a very specific road down that side, but also in the road where now people can make music videos and full movies without even an actor inside it or anything like that. What are your views on that?
I got into robotics, then ended up doing computer engineering because I like the mix of hardware and software. And tools like ChatGPT, commercial AI tools, came out my last semester of college, so I didn't really get to use them much. But as I stepped out of college, I realized I really like AI, but I'm not really into building it myself. So how can I use the current tools that we have today to educate people around me, to use them ethically, but also provide them with use cases where they could use them in our culture to reflect our identity as Emiratis. So I started building fun projects for social media. So I made a deepfake video of myself, very short. I think it was like 20 seconds, where I sit down on the couch at home and I say, I have something really important to tell you guys. Don't believe everything you see. And then it switches to a different face where I was showing people that that video did not exist in real life. That was not me. That was fully AI generated. And the crazy thing and really sad thing, it fooled my mom and my dad.
Oh, wow.
And they couldn't even tell it was me, regardless of my accent, the way I looked. And I wanted to just test the limits of online tools that we have today that use AI. How much can I create with the pictures that already exist of me online with zero knowledge on how to create deepfakes and put it out there to see how people would react to it? And it ended up being a really cool social experiment to do. And later on, I decided to kind of push the limits a bit to create my own characters or videos related to AI. So I started a different page on social media, and that's the power of having tools like this to bring back to life, whether it's folklore stories from our culture, poetry and music, but also bring back old footage and enhance it and upscale it with AI. And I'm in the works of creating my own work with AI now, whether it's cartoons or movies and so on. So found a way again to combine my passion for photography and videography with AI. It's a tricky place to be now, with AI and the data that is being used. But the goal in the future is to use that in an ethical way where we're preserving our culture and we're valuing art, but at the same time, taking advantage of the technology that we have. Because like you mentioned, with calculators or computers or whatever technologies that came up at our time, people were scared of it and they didn't want to use it. But now we can't imagine our lives without it. So why not use it in a way where we're pushing its boundaries and making sure people that look like us are included in a proper way?
I think that's incredible. And especially just the speed. Like you were saying, you just started to figure it out and you made it and your parents didn't know. So you weren't particularly an expert in that and you managed to fool. So imagine the people who are really experts at doing that.
I mean, when you really think about it, there are two worlds that we live in. There is the physical world and the virtual world. In the virtual world, we now have a magic wand. We can create anything we want. Unbelievable. I mean, my dear partner on my startup is not much older than you are, Fatima. So he's 27 and he is unbelievably capable. Like, because he uses AI, he uses coding technologies that are using AI. We build things that I could have never built as a geek, right? And I understand the architecture of what we need to build, but I would go like, no, Sanad, it's gonna take us 4 months to develop this. And he goes like, why? And then 4 minutes later, it's up there.
It's like the movies now.
Unbelievable. We are creating magic in the virtual world. And I think that what most people don't understand with your knowledge of robotics is that in 3 to 4 years' time, the physical world will be morphed as such. If you don't mind me saying, of this interaction, I will remember some of the knowledge that was exchanged. I will never forget the feeling of having you on my left, you on my right. And, this is what humanity is less and less adept at, but it's what we need the most. Absolutely.
The human connection.
The human bit.
When it comes to inventions, how do you control yourself by keeping it your idea and the AI's idea? Does that make any sense?
I mean,
because you can use AI to help you invent something or build something. Where do you draw the line where you're like, no, he's helping too much now. This is just basically AI doing it.
I mean, honestly, this reflects to everything we do in our life today. If you look at people's phones, they always have AI right at the tip of their fingers. It's the first thing they could click on when they open their homepage. It's there because we lean on it now. But the problem is we need to find this fine line where we might be leaning on it too much or we might be depending on it too much. It's a great tool to use, similar to the calculator that we mentioned. If you continue to use the calculator every day, you will not pick up the skills that you need. You'll be good at using it very quickly, but you won't have the core skills when the calculator is gone. Yeah. When the internet is down and you don't have ChatGPT to ask, what are you going to do? You have to use your brain, right?
Yeah. What brain?
What is a brain? I need to ask something. Yeah. So it's kind of a scenario like that. When it comes to inventions or the work that I do now at my job, it's easy to lean on things, but I always limit myself to like certain amount of questions or to ask only about things that I have a hard time finding, or like Mo mentioned, debating with it or having it be someone I'm co-working with and not doing the work for me. And it's also important to improve the skills of deep search and investigating for the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe, when I was in school, I learned how to Google very efficiently. Previous generations learned how to look through books efficiently.
Yeah.
Today with AI, the new science is prompt engineering and learning how to ask the right questions. So knowing how to ask the right questions saves you time and it gives you the exact answer that you need. So you're not leaning too much on it or using it excessively.
Did you just use AI to give me that answer secretly without me
Yeah,
knowing?
it's in my ear.
Right.
Yeah. So I
Neuralink.
I tell people that if you're using AI to get an answer that is short and shallow, what a waste of your life. So I use AI to get deep reports with lots of analysis, with lots of numbers. And I go back and I say, where did that number come from? Show me your sources, right? The amount, just you have to understand for knowledge junkies, we spend weeks on end obsessing about one topic. Now we spend 20 minutes because the AI does the research.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Fatima, when was the main turning point for you that changed everything in the way you see the world?
There were multiple turning points. I think my time in college when I decided to go to the US and learn all about engineering was a time where I realized everything I learned about engineering was, something I learned on my own. I didn't have the right foundation to build things, but I still was able to. That introduced a new concept to me that you could still be, not necessarily have the title of an engineer, but you could still engineer solutions and build things without having proper education or having the right background or having a degree in it. And that just unlocked this whole world to me that, with the new technologies we have like AI, I could pick up skills that I didn't have and I don't necessarily have to go to college to get that. It would be cool to get that deep knowledge, but with tools like that, I can deep search any topic and get the knowledge that I need within 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever time it is. So that unlocked this whole world to me that I don't have to restrict myself to engineering because similar to Mo, I have other interests and I like to explore different things. Today I can pick up skills and combine my passion, like I mentioned, for geography or cooking or building things to other fields like AI and so on. So that was a big turning point for me that I don't have to be an engineer for the rest of my life. I can dive into other industries too.
Mo, Fatima, thank you so much for sharing your powerful perspectives. Before we close, this isn't just about the possibilities of AI. It's about the humans who shape it. And that's what Empowering Paths is truly about, passing the torch to a new generation so they can rise with clarity, creativity, and care. Mo, Fatima, what's one message that you'd like to pass on to those who are building the future today?
I will say it's committed acceptance once again, interestingly. A lot of people, when I talk to them about what's happening in AI, most people don't know, by the way, how far we are. But a lot of people, when they know, they go like, this is not the life I want. I'm not prepared for this. What will happen to my job? Right? Committed acceptance. Huh? Ali left. There's no way of reversing that. AI is here. There is no way of erasing that. Right? So we have to accept that AI is here. That's the acceptance, right? And then the commitment is how do you make your life and the life of those that you love better every day?
The best advice I would give is be curious, like we mentioned earlier in the episode. Always be open to learning about new technologies and learning about new things. The thing is that if you don't read a day or two, you're so behind. Everything is changing rapidly. Also, AI could be used in many different industries. I think people think to get into AI, you need to be good at coding or good at specific skills. But today, my younger sister, who's 12, is able to use AI maybe better than me. And that's a skill we need to teach the next generation, that whatever industry you're in, find a way to integrate AI into that in a proper ethical way to help you exceed in the field that you're in. So for the 10-year-olds, stay curious and open to learning new things.
Mo, advice for Fatima passing on the torch.
Advice for Fatima? I was going to ask Fatima for advice. No, I think I have to say incredibly impressive, to be honest. No advice. I'd just ask you maybe a request, which I know you're doing a lot of. I think you reflect to the world the reality of who we are. And as proud as we are of you being so young, so brilliant, so Emirati, I think one thing that the world needs to know more and more is how brilliant we are in this part of the world. And so I'd like to show you off to the whole world and say, look, this is what an Emirati woman really is. Don't have any other concepts about that in your mind. Whether you live in Argentina or you live in Japan, understand that this is really where things are happening. So very impressive, very impressive.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much for sharing your paths and your journeys with us. Technology may be evolving fast, but values, empathy, and vision will always be at the core of true progress. This was episode 2 of Empowering Paths, where we explored how AI and technology, when guided by human purpose, can rise for good. From their journey to yours, empowering you to rise every day.